Congratulations on this excellent. I'm going to say excellent. I've read it, and it really is top notch. Really well written. Yes, I have. Really top notch. What's the reaction been like?
Oh, it's been incredible.
Yeah.
It's not really. It is. There's football stuff in it, so it's also a football book. But it's not really meant to be a football book. It's more like my history, really.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's a lot of things in there that I knew about. My background is a bit different to many people, and I kind of found myself at a point in my life where I felt I needed to look back and find answers of, you know, when I'm 8 or 9 years of age, how can I say that I want to play for Man United and win the FA Cup at Wembley with Man United, play for Denmark, and then make it happen? So I started to think about it. I had to have a really sort of long look back at where I came from, and I found a lot of what I'm reading in that book, because Jonathan Northcroft, who writes for the Sunday Times, who's written that with me, has found out so much stuff about my background. It's unbelievable. When reading it, I'm like, whoa.
Away from football, you mean?
Completely. I mean, my father, I knew a lot about my father's upbringing and his life before he came to Denmark, but I didn't know, I didn't know all of it. And there's a lot in there where Jonathan, with his journalistic skills, he's spoken to people. My father appears to have given a lot of interviews in Poland, which I didn't know about. So pieced, you know, little bits together, and of that we've got some kind of history, if you like.
Absolutely.
Was it good for you? Did you find that you got a lot of things off your chest while you was doing it?
That was never the idea.
No.
And hopefully when people read this, that they won't get that feeling, because this was really a book for me. I hit 50 and I made some changes in my life, and I've started to look at myself and, you know, what I'm doing and where I'm going. Is that really where I want to be and where I want to go? And in that came the idea of trying to sort of find out, you know, my father's background. My father was still alive at the time, and I really wanted to take him to Poland and show me everything. Meet people, see places, you know, put pictures to the little snippets that I knew of his past. But he was never well enough to take that trip, and then unfortunately he passed away before we had the opportunity to do that. So, and of course, that made me more curious.
Sure. There are some. I love the chapter titles. You got Risk Mode. You got Toilette the Spy, which is a chapter about your father. Chapter 4 is entitled Mr. Hectic. Yeah. So tell us about Mr. Hectic.
I hope that was me. When you do a book like that, when I do anything, I want to do it properly. I don't want to cut corners. I don't want to sort of give an edited version of what I wanted to do. So I had to look at myself as a football player as well, and I also had to look at myself as the guy in that dressing room and being around my teammates and being around people as a whole. And one of the things I always thought about myself was that a lot of what I did on the pitch, my behaviour and the aggression and all that, was an act, and a lot of it was an act. But I really thought that I had the ability to sort of turn it off and then just be a normal person. And in doing that and researching the book and finding out stuff about myself, I realised that I didn't have that ability at all.
So you'd go home being Mr. Hectic?
I could turn it down. I could sort of, you know, I could ease off. But so what you saw on the pitch was not the guy I was in my house, but it was still all about, my family life was all about my next game.
Yeah.
So hectic in the sense that I needed to have a sleep there. Well, you know what it's like, you know, you prepare yourself for the next game. I needed to eat at the right times. I had to eat that. And the whole life was kind of built around my next game. And of course, that plays a big part in the family's life. And then, of course, I'm thinking that, you know, I was quite patient with people, and looking back, I wasn't. No. You know, and that whole idea of being the best and having to win every game and, you know, I must achieve that, I must achieve that. It builds up and it becomes your personality and your character. And I also say that, I mean, this is just reflection from a 57-year-old man.
Yeah.
You know, I look back at the 27-year-old guy,
Yeah.
and I know if I changed it, it probably wouldn't have been the way it ended up. So it's not a regret as such.
Yeah.
It's more an understanding of myself and then taking me into the next phase of my life, wanting to be a better person.
There's some great stuff about Eric Cantona in there, and if we get to that, great. But the stuff about Sir Alex, he said, I don't think a better goalkeeper has played the game of you, which is incredibly high praise. Tell us a little bit about your relationship, you know, whilst you were playing for him.
I don't think the game will ever see a better manager than him. So I think, I mean, there's a lot of things that's in his toolbox, but communication was absolutely brilliant. The clarity of what you had to do, but then his ability to deal with difficult people like myself. You know, we had Roy in there.
You weren't the only one, was you?
No, it was full of it. The dressing room was full of it, and he kind of embraced it. It was important to him to have those characters in the dressing room, and I think in scouting, I think that was part of what they had to look for.
Right.
You know, someone who stood out
Something in the
as a
actual
character.
person, yeah.
And you know, you can find a million explanations for why that was important, but using the Champions League final in '99 as an example, where players that don't have time to go out and get instructions from the manager of what to do next, we're not scoring, we're not breaking through, but the characters in that team, every single one of them stepped up, took more chances, more risk. There's a chapter in that called Risk Mode, which a lot of people has come back to me and said they really enjoyed that chapter because they don't understand it like that. They'd see it, oh, Man United just bought 7 minutes of the referee or something like that. But it's kind of a way that we were. And I think he looked for those characters who could achieve that on the pitch, who could make decisions and, you know, change the course of a game. And he was brilliant at managing that.
Got to ask you about Eric. We were chatting. You love Eric, don't you?
Oh, no, yeah.
You became great pals as well, didn't you? As well as teammates. What was it about Eric that kind of drew you towards him?
I think Eric is a fantastic guy first and foremost. He's a very. I mean, we roomed together as well, so I spent a lot of time which was away from games and, you know, the team, and I spent a lot of time with him, so I got to know him really, really well. And he is, you know, he's different, but different in a good way, but also incredibly normal. And we were very similar in the way that we were to people coming from different countries. We brought our families here. We had the same challenges and issues with, you know, with schooling, understanding English schools, or, you know, everything about the society that is a little bit different to what we're used to. So we just had some you know, naturally common ground. And, you know, I asked him to write the foreword, and
it's brilliant.
It was quite. I was quite proud because he was so happy that I asked him, and I think what he's written is brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
Did he have a big influence on other players when he first come to the club?
I would credit Eric for a lot, and one of the things is he moved the mentality into a better place. So Eric's also a very shy guy. So when he came into the dressing room the first day, came in quite early. Of course, he was saying hello to everyone, and he just sat down. He had difficulty to look people in the eye, and didn't really know what to do with himself. So he took a ball, went out onto the pitch about half an hour before training, which was not very normal. And one thing about Sir Alex, he didn't like us training too much. So, you know, he wanted to contain it to a certain amount of minutes. So that was not the norm. You never went out before. So he went out and at the training ground, the cliff, there was a wall behind one of the goals, and he started sort of to kick the ball up against the wall and chest it down and sort of working on his technique. And the old training ground, so the canteen, the coach's room, and the fitness or the treatment room had windows to the pitch, and everyone was there by the windows looking at Eric, thinking, what is he doing? Never seen anything like that before. And so kind of before you knew it, you had the young guys. They were not in the team back then, the Scholes, the Beckhams, the Nevs, and all these. They slowly, you know, day by day, one more came out and joined Eric doing that. And very, very quickly after that, the mentality of that you could practice your individual skills without having a coach telling you what to do. So an example, you know, Gary Neville would be practicing throw-ins or crosses on the run, on the move. David Beckham, of course, set pieces, corner kicks, free
Didn't
kicks.
improve a lot, Gary, though, did he?
I stay out of that one.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, look, it is an absolutely superb book. I really recommend it. Go and get yourself a copy of it. Thanks for being here this morning, Peter. I know you're very hectic, but for the time being, they're slightly less than hectic. Peter Schmeichel. Cheers, Peter.